Good morning, everybody. We're going to call the meeting to order. I believe I've done the head count. We have a quorum here. There is a sign-in sheet that's being passed around. If you would please execute where indicated, that would be appreciated. We have an agenda that was sent to you yesterday, so hopefully you have any questions or comments. You can certainly speak up at any time you wish. I guess on the consent agenda, we have the motion to approve the minutes from last meeting as well as the financial statements, which are both in your packet. Unless there are any questions about either one, we will entertain a motion to approve. Motion. Motion's made. Second. Second by Gary. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. I will note for the record that our bank balance is $408,530. It's kind of the peak of all the taxes are in pretty much. We'll have a few stragglers, but most all our money's in, so it goes downhill from here, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway. All right, on the agenda next is the public forum, which I suppose in the formality sense we'll have 3 minutes to address. But anybody wants to say anything or bring up anything that's not on the agenda, please do so anytime they wish, but I guess it'd be a good time now. Anybody? Andrew, anything good on your end? We all good?
All good.
Like to hear it. All right, well, I guess, Terry, I'll let you present your report.
Good, thank you. Good morning. Let's see, a couple of things I want to just give updates on. First of all, the economic improvement plan that you passed at the January meeting and the corresponding budget required the council to approve that because it was a change from the budget that they approved back in July of this year. So they had a first reading, I guess, on the 30th, and now tomorrow on the 8th, they will hopefully pass it without question or whatever.
I wouldn't expect there to be any comments, or at this point, it's a formality.
Yeah. So at that point, then we will charge full steam ahead with the items contained in there that we weren't already pursuing, that were allowed to be pursued because of it was within the budget parameters established. Most of which have to do with the creating an RFP and selecting a agency to lead a brand development process. And then also we'll take a look at some other things that need to be implemented in conjunction with the DLP that has to pass its 6-month budget at our February meeting. So once that's done, then we'll everything contained in the remaining fiscal year will be implemented and hopefully completed by June 30th. So very exciting. One of the things that you will be participating in is the board's retreat, is what we're calling it. So it is the retreat that will have the DLP board and this board participating to plan out, kind of get on the same page and plan out where we're headed in the next 3 years. And as you remember, that will be followed by what I call an open house. We will invite the public in to take a look at the work done by these boards. And that will be March 21st. And we believe it'll be at, do we think it will be at the?
Possibly the Hyatt.
Hyatt, that's what we're working on. We hope to have word on that this week and then send out some initial invitations for that board retreat. So that will take place, by the way, at 7:30 in the morning. It will hopefully last until, let's say, 10. We'll have breakfast. We'll go through some stuff. And then at 12 o'clock, we will invite the Downtown Lexington Partnership Advisory Board to come in, take a look at the work we've done, and add their thoughts to it. And then we'll have a public open house from 5 to 7 and invite everyone, anyone, come in and weigh in, write, help us prioritize by placing a dot on our favorite stuff. And so hopefully at the end of that process, we'll have a real good sense of where we're headed and good buy-in from our collaborating organizations, our funders, our stakeholders, and our customers. And then we'll get about the business of implementing that plan since the start of the fiscal year in July. So that's the process. And I forgot to mention, we're starting that process by first doing it internally. So we're having our board retreat, our staff retreat, this Friday from Ours is going to be a little bit longer. It's going to go from 12 to 4, but or thereabouts. But we're going to lay the groundwork for the board retreat. So we're going to do a lot of our work for you guys to kind of get us ready so that you'll have some things to look at and react to. And that's how we'll be able to make this a 2.5-hour boards retreat. And we're thankful that 21C is hosting us. And if I could say, we are very excited that they became a member of Downtown Lexington Partnership. So thank you very much, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Another update. So we've been doing some surveys as part of the economic improvement plan. We say we're going to do a consumer perception survey of the 6-county area. So think about that, 6-county area. Those are our customers, our local customers. And that's already been completed, yay. So they're now doing the tabulation, but one of the key indicators that we can report on right away is 72% of the 6-county area resident has been downtown in the last 6 months. Now, that's a big, the statistician, the surveyor said, wow, that's a big number because it's such a large area. And so that shows the gravitational pull that downtown has. So that's just one indicator, maybe a lot more, but one of the initial things. And then we did do a stakeholder survey. So sent out via email a survey link, and within, let's see, we sent that out Thursday. So by Monday, nearly 60 people had completed that. That's a good number. I only sent out like 100 and some. Now, some folks, that one was supposed to be a controlled survey of kind of our members that we kind of knew, or stakeholders we knew. Some folks did forward that on, so we'll see what that does. We might get like 200 responses, so we'll see. But the more data, the better. But hopefully we'll be able to report that. Both of those surveys, complete, all the information contained in those will be presented at our board retreat, so that we'll have good information of understanding what our stakeholders want us to be doing, what our customers want us to be doing, and then how we'll go about that business. And then we're also conducting an impact study where we are utilizing Thomas P. Miller and Associates to take a look at the impact of the downtown on the economic engine of the Lexington economy. And then doing some best practices. What does membership programs look like? What do management districts, how do they function in collaboration with umbrella organizations like ours? And so we'll hopefully have that at our disposal as well. So again, we'll be able to figure out, okay, this is how other folks do it. This is what makes sense for us, given what we have here. Let's charge for it. And then the last thing is, on February 21st, I'm looking at my staff, make sure I have the right time and place. There's a meet and greet from 5 to 7. I'm still new. So
4 to 6.
4 to 6, thanks. Can you talk about it?
Sure. So it'll be at Distilled, which is there on 2nd Street, and it's from 4 to 6. We'll have light appetizers, a cash bar, and Terry's going to do a 15 to 20 minute presentation, just kind of talking about his view and vision for DLP. So we get about 100 people kind of from all, areas of our membership. It's a great networking opportunity, and we invite everyone to come. 21st, 4 to 6.
And it's a good way to help us support that business. And then later in the agenda, we'll be kind of replicating this for each of these meetings, but we want to give some broad updates on what's happening so that you're well informed in case people are asking you, hey, what's going on? I don't know about this or whatever. So there'll be some things with events, with operations, and obviously continue to do David's report, but trying to add to that so that you have a broad sense of what's going on downtown.
Questions, anybody? Terry? So the reception on the 21st, has that invite been sent out, or is that posted somewhere, or is it on the website, or how would one even know?
I think postcards have been sent to all of our members.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll also put that in our e-newsletter.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, who did David?
there's
Where we got special events?
there's a motion for the,
Oh, that's right.
Bookkeeping.
Oh, yeah, there's a housekeeping matter we want to do. Terry is concerned about the way I keep the books, so we've decided to, no, I'm just kidding. Not really. We've talked internally. Gary's the one that actually says I did. See me at the parking authority. Transfer the responsibilities with regard to the books, the income and the expenditures over to Terry's office, and I think it makes all the sense in the world. So I guess technically we need a housekeeping motion to accomplish that, so I'll entertain that motion. Let's not all speak at once.
I will.
Thank you, Gary, since it was your idea. Second by Tanya. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. I know that my assistant will be very happy that that's been done.
and just a clarification in case folks are wondering, we won't be touching the bank accounts. It is strictly a tracking and bookkeeping. So what we'll be able to do now is put that into QuickBooks. And so we'll be able to generate and track things. And if you want a different report on X, Y, or Z, we can generate that. It'll make it easier on our staff and Jim's staff that has to do that. So we won't be touching anything of the banking system stuff, expenditures, but we will track it better.
Thank you. Okay, let's move into operations updates, special events.
Yeah, I'm going to let Laura take over, but she's done an excellent job. What we want to make sure is, as managers of downtown, we talk about we're the mall manager, right, for downtown. It's important that we try to communicate what's happening that might affect your business, either for the positive or for things that might throw you a curveball. Like sometimes when events happen with street closures, we want to make sure people are aware of what's going on, that one, we communicate that to the consumer, and you can communicate that to your customer as well. And so Laura's done a good job of kind of summarizing. I know she was working with the event organizers in the city to kind of put this together, but a real good one-page summary that she can go through.
Well, I feel like it's pretty straightforward, kind of the who, what, when, where, and street closures for two events that are taking place in March. Saturday the 17th, it's the Shamrock Shuffle 3K, which is 1.86 miles. I did the math for you. And then the St. Patrick's Day Festival and Parade. So it's an entire day of activity in downtown. It includes the parade, live entertainment, but it does include a lot of street closures. And thankfully, we have Lori Houlihan in the mayor's office that compiles all of that data and can send it over. So every month I'll have kind of what's going on. And DLP does produce a lot of the events that you see downtown. We do not produce either of these, but if you have any questions at any time, let me know. If I don't know the answer, I can get it for you.
Good. Any questions? Thank you very much. Very helpful. Very helpful. Construction/new projects. Anything you wish to bring up?
And that's Ethan, who, if you guys will kind of want to get familiar with organization, where everyone came from and stuff. So we have the DLC side, and Ethan comes to the DLP from the DDA side. So he's really familiar with what's happening from a project and construction perspective. So wanted him to kind of make sure he was briefing you folks on all the exciting news. If you think about it, there's with new projects and construction, there's pain before the gain. And so it's always good to get a little update on that and then see when the light is at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and as Terry mentioned, this will be a standing report that we'll talk about a few of the bigger items every meeting. The next one, Woodford's offered to give an update on Centerpoint whenever he's back, and so he'll be able to talk a little bit about that, which, as you're watching it now, I'm sure between now and the next meeting, it'll be drastically different. They're moving so quickly now. But the big things coming up, the courthouse is nearing completion, and so on Tuesday, Monday the 12th at 10 a.m. is their dome viewing ceremony. But along with that, you'll notice the fencing start to come down a little bit more. And so they removed it on Upper Street. The Short Street size expected on the 9th, give or take a day or so, depending on how this weather affects that. And then in June, on the pavilion side, when the restaurant work is finished this summer, the rest of that fencing will come down. And so we'll be very grateful for that for Thursday Night Live and a lot of the other events through there. And then throughout the spring and into the summer, you'll start to see offices move in and a lot more activity start to take place. And it's really exciting to see kind of that formerly dead space activated with people again. The other big project, Town Branch Commons, which is actually starting to really gear up, especially along the Greenway. You'll start to see some of the construction begin in April. And as they get more into March and April, they'll release a more detailed schedule of the different sections and when the street closures will be happening for those. But that's essentially a project that'll last until 2020 when you look at the entire Greenway from the park all the way up to Midland. And then roughly in 2021, and probably depending on how the fundraising efforts go, is when the park itself would go under construction. But that has to also follow the convention center construction as well. So the convention center will go under construction essentially at the same time as the Greenway is being built. They'll use that area to lay down a lot of their equipment. And then whenever that's finished, the park comes in behind it. So that's kind of a few of the big things. And then we'll keep giving updates on some of the construction closures and the bigger projects being announced.
And after a board retreat, we'll have a unveil our comprehensive project list that will kind of summarize all the projects that they've completed in the downtown since 2015, and then a look forward. I think you'll be surprised. Sometimes it's hard to understand kind of what's going on and remember the things that have gone on, but it's I think we're tracking right now since 2015, including the stuff in the pipeline, $1.3 billion of new investment in our downtown that's going to transform us. So we want to make sure that you have a global context and view. Again, we're trying to arm you with good information before we start saying, here's what we want to do. So taking that global view will help us with that.
Any questions, anyone? Any of the projects we don't have?
Not construction related, but the event and program report, does that get sent? You might have said that already. It's sent to everybody on the distribution list?
So our plan is, I haven't communicated this yet, so we have a newsletter. And so usually we just do a promotion, like, hey, here's this event, right? Well, I think we want to put a link that goes to like a PDF of this. It says for closure information, visit, follow this link. And so when we get into developing a new website along with the brand, then we will, on a consistent basis, have traffic alerts that will pop up. So when you go to our website, it'll say, cheep, cheep, traffic alert. So you'll know that, hey, this road's going to be closed. And we'll probably have either a monthly or a weekly update of construction, depending on how busy we get with construction season and stuff. And obviously we'll work with the city on that to make sure that we're in sync with everything that's going on.
Anybody? Anything else? Okay, parking. What's going on with parking?
So I asked Gary if he's got some things going on that would be good for him to update.
Thanks. So just a few things tying into the historic courthouse reopening. I actually will be meeting with Holly Wiedemann later today, but something that you may have heard about in some of the early on plans was on Upper Street to have sort of a pull-off area for tour buses. And in the beginning, the side drawing showed that as just bus parking. But the folks would visit Lex and the bus tour, the whole conversation is that it may not be that often. So we talked about, well, why don't we put meters back? Because meters along Short Street and along those intersecting are so important to all the merchants and parking authority that we can bag pretty quick. So if there's going to be a tour leaving the visitor center, we can bag the day before, set it up for the buses, and then turn it back over to parking afterwards. So we're talking about that. And also, since the fence came down, you can see better. They did a really good job with an ADA ramp. Anytime you redo an old historic building, ADA issues are always a super challenge. There's a really nice ramp going into that Upper Street side. And we're going to add an ADA space in one of the 7 parking spaces. So there will be access to the building that way for anyone with disabilities. That'll be a part of those 7 meters that'll go back in. So that's that. On the technology side, this event season, we've been working with a group called Spot Hero, where you can go online and reserve event parking ahead of time. For UK games, we've been averaging anywhere from 20 to 40 reservations. The cool next step of that is just kind of like the way you can do the U-Scan at Kroger. We've got these scanners in all the entrance and exits, so you would be able to reserve that, put it on your phone, and then as you pull up, then the gate, go to your event, and then when you leave, you'll put your phone in front of it and the gate will go up again. We're testing that. It's been working off and on. We're going to keep working on the testing, but that'll be cool because then we can just roll it out to whenever, whoever. If you want to go online and reserve 2 hours of parking at any of our garages, you'll be able to do that at some point. So we're kind of working through the testing on that. And that's pretty exciting sort of for a mid-sized community like ours to be really advanced like that. There's not a lot of communities that are doing that yet. It's pretty cool. And then just sort of a bigger picture, as a lot of you knew that's been around for a while and heard us talk about the pain of taking over the garages from the city and the millions of dollars that we had to spend on a lot of deferred maintenance. Well, it's kind of time to do that again. So our board and myself have been so educated. You know, a lot of people think, gosh, the parking garages must make a ton of money. Well, we bring in some money, but man, we have to spend a ton of money to keep them safe and clean and
They're
healthy.
all for sale if you'd like.
We're
For
ready.
$1, you get half of any one you want.
Yeah, we're okay with dumping them off if we
Yeah.
can. So, again, there's millions of dollars worth of work that's needed to be done over the next few years, and that'll be starting. It includes jackhammering, and it's never fun when you do stuff like that, but we'll start some of that work this late spring, summer, and we'll phase it as much as possible. Nothing will ever be as big a deal, I don't think, in the future as the Helix project where we actually had to close a garage for a while. But this will, be areas of the garage that we have to quadrant off, and it'll be a bit of an inconvenience, and each of the 4 garages that we own or operate are part of this plan. And so you'll see some of that starting. It's just sort of one of those things we have to do. The moment you build a parking garage, it's beginning to deteriorate. Unlike a building that has a great roof over it and windows and glass, we bring in salt and the rain gets in there and it just starts deteriorating immediately. So we can spend a bunch of money and 2 or 3 years later, it's time to do it again. So that's kind of our what we're dealing with right now. Any questions about parking?
Do you anticipate that when the old courthouse reopens and gets fully functional, what's the impact, if any, on the parking downtown?
That's a great question. There's from what I understand, with the different entities moving in, there's something like 30 to 40 employees who would be in there at any given time. Obviously, the restaurant will have a lot more employees, but at any given time, between the entities that are in there. So that's a new group of parkers looking to park. Then the visitors to the visitor center, the restaurant, so there's some daily pressure. And then the event space, which is nice that most of those happen in the evening and weekends when we have ample parking. But that'll bring in a whole lot. They're booked up, and there's the upstairs that holds 200, 300 people or something. Some of us that are. So I mean, sometimes you could see 300 people coming into that facility at night that typically we haven't seen, but we've got plenty of parking for that. So I think the daytime and the employee base is not too overwhelming for the parking system. It's a good thing for everybody.
Anybody else on parking? Okay, the Safety Ambassador Program Development Update.
So before I do that, I didn't think about mentioning this, that we're working with a working group to bring bike share to Lexington. We're doing it pretty quickly, although we've slowed a little bit. So the working group, we've interviewed 6 providers, and the working group is meeting Monday. The 6 providers have just sent a questionnaire. We've conducted an interview, some came in person, and some did a conference call. So now we've created a questionnaire as a follow-up. We're going to meet and review those completed questionnaires on Monday, and then make some decisions as far as do we bring like the top 2 back to really do an intense thing or what have you. The exciting thing is they can get up and running with a couple weeks notice, and all of them can bring as many bikes as you want, whether it's 200 or 2,000. And so we think our goal is, we're kind of operate under the mantra, do more, do it better, do it now. I think the working group wants to get it up maybe by April. So it'll move fast once we kind of decide. And a lot of the driving of this is also university-based. So we're working very closely with Trinity, UK, BT.
BCTC.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. And I think there might be someone from Sullivan as well. So we want to make sure that we have a seamless provider that provides, essentially utilizes city right-of-way and the campuses. So we want to make sure that the campuses agree. So the consumer knows that there's one place that they can go, one provider, and it'll hopefully work out really well. So we'll know more Monday, but know that it'll probably be something we discuss at the board retreat, but that we're already moving forward as if everyone's going to say, that's a great idea. So, safety ambassadors. We, again, we kind of have to wait for, our anticipation is March 1st, but we got to have the council first, make sure they approve the revised budget, and then we have to approve, no, for this program, we don't have to approve, the DLP doesn't have to approve anything, so we'll wait for council, hopefully December, tomorrow, right? Is that February? Yes. Okay, but what we're trying to do, we have a budget holder of $25,000 for the next 3 months to get us to the end of the fiscal year, and $3,000 of expenses for equipment or supplies. And that's based upon 2 people working 40 hours a week as safety ambassadors. But we want, we're trying to organize, David and I, a meeting with the bars and restaurants that are really feeling impacted and trying to get their feedback. What do you think a schedule needs to be? As I've said, does it need to be 4 people working 20 hours a week, 3 days a week, or 5 days a week, or whatever, so that we're making the best impact for them when their customers are trying to get to them and they're being confronted with panhandling, which can be really intimidating, especially if you're not a frequent user of downtown. If you're a frequent user of downtown, it's probably just a hassle. But if you're an infrequent user of downtown, it's intimidating. And so having a visible presence that is eyes and ears for police and also a uniform presence really helps. So we want to make sure that's deployed the best way. And so we were trying to get it done before this meeting, but no one's schedule was working. So it's going to be next week before we get those folks around the table. And then we'll work with David and his folks to get hiring ramped up and get the program launched. So, that's all for that.
Questions
Anything
about
you
the
wanna-
safety? We definitely need it. I mean, we've had some instances in our garages lately. And it's definitely getting ramped up. So I think this is a great idea and it's very timely and the sooner the better. So I encourage you to get around the table with these folks as soon as possible and figure out what exactly our needs are. You've got the money allocated, so let's, like you say, use it the best we can. Okay.
One of the things I want to add on, like we were talking about with the panhandlers, I spoke with Gary about it. Those next skill signs that they have, I was asking would it be able to have those put at the pay stations or the garages and at the surface lots? Because most of the time that's where the panhandling goes on at, when they see people paying at the pay stations. So I was asking them about having those put at the pay stations or near them. That might help out a lot too.
You can certainly do the garages out there. Those other ones, those are private lots. You'll have to deal with, I guess, not be the owner or the folks run operator. Yeah.
Who's that?
Garages can be a problem. Sure.
Just talking SP.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
I think they'd be interested in it too.
It'll help them. It'll help. Because a lot of times, that's where we always see it at, especially on Short Street.
People are pulling their money out.
Yeah, pull it anywhere where you put it, like at I know they're not going to put them near the ATMs or anything, but I figure the service lot, that's what a lot of people do.
What does the money go to?
With next year, or the money you put in the,
It just says, please don't give. If you
Yeah.
want to give, call.
said,
No.
change the way you give.
I was thinking Louisville has those boxes.
Yeah, the ones on the corner, those went to the Coalition for the Homeless. 100% of it. All of it went to the Coalition for the Homeless. We had talked about that one time as far as putting those, the boxes on poles at certain areas where people could just drop money in there also. I don't know if that's something they might be interested in doing also.
Okay, David, you want to give us a report while you're gone?
I had my walkthrough on snow removal last month. I'm hoping that we won't have to walk through it again. But we pretty much got a system together that take care of the ramps. We had no problem, but it wasn't a whole lot of snow. Hopefully that we won't get a whole lot of snow, but if we do, we'll be ready for that from what I've seen. I've been doing a little research on the porous pave as far as trying to get that done. I think that's a project that's going to be too big for the ambassadors. And we'll probably have to partner with someone else to do that because it involves so much stuff as far as the materials, the mixing, the digging up the tree wells and everything. And I can see now it'll be too much for us. So hopefully we might be able to partner with the city some type of way that they might be willing to go in on doing it. So I'm going to continue to work on that, see where we ever at. And I already told you about the signs. And I was asking Jared, does anyone know the name of the buttons that you push that says walk light is on and those? I had a couple of people that was wondering if we could have those put on right there at Short and Broadway on the corner. Because a lot of times when people are turning the corner on the Short off of Broadway, they need something, they need sign where people, because a lot of people punch, what's her name, Rachel, Miss Rachel. They'll punch her handicap access door for opening the door and thinking that's the sign, the intercom or whatever it is. So I was talking to Grace, I probably need to talk to traffic engineer about that. But other than that, that's all that I had.
Any questions for David?
And I have a suggestion. On the statistics, it's more useful if we could have the last 12 months as opposed to the new year. It doesn't tell us anything about trends and differences and so on. So we just change that so it...
Sure.
Something that we do for our board is, because your format may not allow for all those months, is just to shift it to the last 6 months of the prior year, so you can at least see 6 months worth of, and then as you get closer into this year, bring it back to just show this year.
Yes, you want to do
I
January.
think I think on the format on that one, I can get for the whole year, but it'd probably be better just to go 6 months.
I was already thinking that, it'd be nice to see the trend if you could at least see 6 months worth of data so you can see if the trends are up or down. That's a great point.
Me too.
Yeah, for us, the parking authority, we're able to look at it January to January to see if, because, certain months for us have different trends. And so you can look back in last year and say, we had the same thing in January of, so it does help. You're right about that. It would be helpful. Yeah. Did you have hear any complaints, Steve, with regard to the snow removal, with regard to what we're doing here? Was there any conversation at all, or did you hear anything in your area? I guess that's a good thing.
Oh, but yeah, quiet is good.
Yeah, right. Quiet is good. That's right.
What are we doing? I mean, is that just a drain that we cleared?
Well, I was more talking in terms of keeping the ramps and stuff open during the ice.
Isn't that a city? Shouldn't the city be doing that?
Well, the problem is they come and scrape, a lot of that stuff gets pushed to the side, and then, and then the individual owner of the property is supposed to handle his or her own sidewalk, and these seem to be kind of in no man's land, for lack of a better description. So we're trying to tackle those, but I think Woodford would have a different perspective on it.
We spend a lot of money on this, salt and time, and
We have. Because, so far we haven't had to. But if we were to get a bad one, the salt's not that expensive when you buy it in bulk. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's expensive. For my back now, yes. Other than that, it's okay.
It's hard for pedestrians. I mean, the city will come by, they'll plow, go there, it's blocked, you have to try to walk over it. If you don't have snow boots on, I mean, you've got street shoes on.
Yeah.
I had the blower out there blowing the snow off the ramps, and then we just came back, and I put some salt down on the ramps. So the ramps were pretty cool. It was only one part with Vales. They were the only ones that didn't do their sidewalks. So we went over there and took care of that. Made a path through there. But other than that, everybody else was on top of their, in front of their property. Everybody, all the streets looked pretty good. Some did it late in the day where, it would have been helpful if they'd have done it earlier. Didn't happen. But like I said, Vales was the only one where I went over and had take care of that. Didn't want to do it, but it was real icy over there. Didn't want to do it. I didn't want to set a precedent where everybody else would think I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah, right, exactly. But is it true that you're basically shifting time that you would have been doing sort of trash cleanup or leaf detail and you're just on snow, so it's not really an extra hours?
Yeah, we can't clean anything up with the snow, so instead of doing the cleaning, we just do the remove. So it's not here as far as that. But once all the snow is gone, then that's a lot more to do then. But it was pretty cool. It was no problems. Started like 7 in the morning and had most of the ramps done on Main Street that day, and then just broke off and had someone do work on Short and work on High Street. So we did pretty well. And we only did that with just 4 of us.
So do you think if there's extended weather, your position might change on not having enough people and it being a very cumbersome task?
I've done it. Well, that's based on me doing it over the years, where I'm kind of used to doing it from doing it local. But I don't foresee where it'll be a big problem because it doesn't take long to make a path through the ramps. It doesn't take any time. So let's hope we don't. I hope you. But I think we'll be all right.
Putting Woodford's perspective into since he's not here.
I think we'll be okay though.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, a lot of the property, where a lot of the ramps are, you have the building maintenance where they take care of most of that themselves. So all of the ramps don't have to be cleared in those areas. It's just some of them that needs to be done. Majority of them are done. Like over in Vallejo, that hotel, most of that whole from one side, from this upper street side coming around on Main Street, y'all take care of it. There's a lot of other properties. There's a lot of other properties that do the same too. So it's not a lot.
Okay.
Anybody, anything else for David? Thank you, David. Any other matters we wish to discuss while we're here?
I just wondered, it's been almost 5 months, and Kate happens to be here. Is there anything to report back about the book benches?
We are still soliciting sponsors.
Good.
We closed the opportunity for artists to submit their designs last week, and we had 92
Great.
designs that were submitted. And having just finished last night cataloging and putting them all into little sleeves, they are astonishing. They are really the range of styles and the diversity of titles. We were concerned that saying one author, one artist might cull the groups really quickly if everybody picked Wendell Berry, and that would take a lot of people off the table. And Wendell Berry has been popular. About 5 people have done books by him. But they've also gone out and found obscure books. They've had approved books they've written themselves that they have illustrated, like Chris Ware from the Herald Leader. He wrote a little kid's book called Max Takes a Nap, and he got that approved, and he is an illustrator himself. So it's a really fun, exciting project. We're building up to some buzz, hopefully, with a video that we have that Keeneland has done for us. We're hoping Rich Copley's going to cover this phase with another great piece. And we've got some really cool ideas about events and things that we're going to do. In addition, we're talking about theming those little mini libraries on posts with the benches. So we've got a lot of creative juices going now. And we have our first sponsor coming in today to make his selection. The first bench. So we're rolling along. Yeah, we might have been quiet, but we're busy. Thank you for asking.
Anybody, anything else? You good? Okay, I guess we will stand adjourned then. Thank you very much for coming.